Okay, how's it going, everybody? So we're gonna read Thesis on Feuerbach by Karl Marx. Um, when did Thesis on Feuerbach come out? I don't have a date here. Let me see if I can figure out when this did. Not, I will look it up and add it in before too long. Yeah, doesn't have a date necessarily. I mean, I think this came out. Maybe like 1939 is when selections from the German ideology. It says here around 1939, so it's probably around then they start talking about Feuerbach. Anyway, I don't know. I'll look it up and add it into the video description. So let's go ahead and get into Thesis on Feuerbach by Karl Marx. So there's 11 different sections here. We'll get into this first one, but I mean they're short. The sections are really short. It's not that long of a read. So let's go ahead. Number 1. The chief defect of all hitherto existing materialism, that of Feuerbach included, is that the thing, Gegenstand, reality, sentiousness, is conceived only in the form of the object, or of contemplation, but not as human sensuous activity, practice, not subjectively. Hence, it happened that the active side, in contradistinction to materialism, was developed by idealism, but only abstractly, since of course idealism does not know real sensuous activity as such. Feuerbach wants sensuous objects really differentiated from the thought objects, but he does not conceive human activity itself as objective activity. Hence, in the essence of Christianity, he regards the theoretical attitude as the only genuinely human attitude, while practice is conceived and fixed only in a dirty judicial form of appearance. Hence, he does not grasp the significance of practical critical activity. So this is number 2. The question whether objective truth can be attributed to human thinking is not a question of theory, but is a practical question. In practice, man must prove the truth, that is, the reality and power, the decideness of his thinking. The dispute over the reality or non-reality of thinking which is isolated from practice is a purely scholastic question. Number 3. The materialist doctrine that men are products of circumstances and upbringing, and that, therefore, changed men are products of other circumstances and changed upbringing, forgets that it is men that change circumstances, and that the educator himself needs educating. Hence, this doctrine necessarily arrives at dividing society into two parts, of which one is superior to society, in Robert Owen, for example. The coincidence of the changing of circumstances of human activity can be conceived and rationally understood only as revolutionizing practice. Number 4. Feuerbach starts out from the fact of religious self-alienation, the duplication of the world into a religious imaginary world and a real one. His work consists in the dissolution of the religious world into its secular basis. He overlooks the fact that after completing his work, the chief thing still remains to be done. One second. Still remains to be done. For the fact that the secular foundation detaches itself from itself and establishes itself in the clouds as an independent realm is really to be explained only by the self-cleavage and self-contradictoriness of this secular basis. The latter must itself, therefore, first be understood in its contradiction, and then, by the removal of the contradiction, revolutionized in practice. Thus, for instance, once the earthly family is discovered to be the secret of the Holy Family, the former must then itself be criticized in theory and revolutionized in practice. Number 5. Feuerbach, not satisfied with abstract thinking, appeals to sensuous contemplation, but he does not conceive sensuous as practical human sensuous activity. Number 6. Feuerbach resolves the religious essence into the human essence, but the human essence is no abstraction inherent in each single individual. In its reality, it is the ensemble of the social relations. Feuerbach, who does not enter upon a criticism of this real essence, is consequently compelled, 1. To abstract from the historical process and to fix the religious sentiment as something by itself, and to presuppose an abstract, isolated human individual. 2. The human essence, therefore, can with him be comprehended only as genus, as an internal dumb generality which merely naturally unites the many individuals. Number 7. Feuerbach consequently does not see that the religious sentiment is itself a social product, and that the abstract individual whom he analyzes belongs in reality to a particular form of society. Number 8. Social life is essentially practical. All mysteries which mislead theory to mysticism find their rational solution in human practice and in the comprehension of this practice. Number 9. The highest point attained by contemplative materialism, that is, materialism which does not understand sensuousness as practical activity, is the contemplation of single individuals in civil society. End quote. Civil society. End quote. Number 10. The standpoint of the old materialism is, quote, civil society. The standpoint of the new is human society, or socialized humanity. Number 11. The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. I've heard that phrase. It's a really good phrase. This is the last one. The philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. He's constantly going at the philosophers for that. He goes at Proudhon too. And Proudhon says the philosophy of poverty. You know, his big criticism is puts it in reverse and says the poverty of philosophy. You know, it's you know, that's yeah. So that's Karl Marx. That was the thesis on Feuerbach. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Facebook, Twitter, Medium, Tumblr. All of these are Marxist Saw. Also, the YouTube page, Marxist Saw. Hit me up there. Subscribe. You know, thank y'all for tuning in and getting educated with me. I'm getting educated as I read this. Y'all are getting educated as y'all hear me read it. You know, maybe you've already heard this and you're just tuning in for other reasons. Who knows? I don't know what other reasons there'd be, but so yeah. Well, thank y'all. Y'all have a great day. And Tadaragoy.